For this lesson, I want to show you a demo. Now, we're not in Dreamweaver yet, but we will be in a second. I've worked in Photoshop, I've worked in other programs, maybe even Microsoft Word, Excel, whatever. And what I want to do is I want to bring those elements into the site that I'm working on. And there are a lot of ways you can do that. Now, you'll notice I have one thing called Lighthouse JPEG, and I have something else called Test Page DWT. I want to use that as an example of how you can work with text and titles and even graphics inside of a pre-existing page. Now, we're not going to talk a whole lot about templates. I'm going to show you how you make them and how you use them for your particular site. But if I'm teaching a class on Dreamweaver, which I guess I am, and I just basically work with somebody else's template, what I'm showing you how to do is take somebody else's work, their technology and creativity, and plug your stuff into it. I'm not against that, and I've used templates before, but what we want to do is do things on our own. So what we're looking at in the template I'm about to show you is very similar to things that we are actually going to do. Let me begin by opening up our site. Now, we created this earlier. I want the image to go into the images folder. We're just going to drag it up there. I'm going to put the test page in the root area, just right in here, along with our index right up here, right in the root. Just drag it over. Let me close this out. I'm going to come down here and launch Dreamweaver. Now you will notice over in images, we do indeed have our image. And there is our test page down here, which we're going to look at in a second. You can drag things over before you open up Dreamweaver. Dreamweaver looks at the folder and says, oh, there's been some changes. I'm changing the files panel. But there are times where you might actually have Dreamweaver open, and at the same time, you're dragging things into the folder. Dreamweaver does check that folder every once in a while, like every minute or so, to see if everything is up to date. So you drag some things into it, and you re-access Dreamweaver, which was already open, but you don't see things like test page or the image. This button right here, if you click it, will refresh the files panel. It will force Dreamweaver to go out, check our main file folder, and see if anything has changed. Two ways we can open up test page. I can go up to the word file and say open, but that doesn't make sense. Just double click it over here. Like I said, this is just simply a basic template page. Now we talk about things like text. In this particular template, the text has been set for us. So if I come over here and say, well, you know what? I think I want this to be my about page for my website. Double click. I mean, this is just text processing, isn't it? And type in about Andy. Down here in the subtitle, I'll type in Andy revealed. If I scroll down a little bit more, we have two more sub areas. So I can say Andy explained, Andy exposed. I don't know if I really want to be exposed, but you get the idea. We're just typing here. Now, the beauty of these areas that we are using, they're floating areas depending on what's in them. That's what I really like. So if we come back up here again and scroll up to here, maybe that's just a short sentence. Andy revealed. It's not all the text that's in there. Now, that's what I would define as placeholder text. Sometimes when I'm working on a website or even a layout for a magazine or newspaper or something, I don't have the text that I need to make it work, so I put placeholder text in there. It fills it in. I can check things like colors and fonts and sizes. If I like it, I move on. When I get the text, I replace it. Let's say we don't need all this stuff. So I'm going to go from here and drag down to here and just delete that area. Notice what happened to Andy explained. It moved up. These boxes are responsive to what we put into them. As you're going to see when we make them, they're very easy. Now down here, Andy explained, we do the same thing. We don't need all that text in there. So say we come up to about here. And I'm just pressing the delete key to get rid of it. And so now we have that area right there. And exposed, the same thing. I don't want all that stuff. And so I'm going to take care of everything up to there and get rid of that. Now you will notice over here, each one of these areas works on its own. So now, because there is a lot more stuff over here than over here, we have a large blank area in here. This is what I would call planning. We've got too much stuff if we're going to use that area on the left. So I'll do something over here too. I'm going to get rid of some of this stuff too. Now, if I want to, because the cursor is right at the end of unique look, I can press the return key maybe once to push that down just a little bit more. Now we have another area, a footer. So let me go ahead and get rid of all of this text. And I'll double click on address content. And let me go ahead and change that to my business name. And give me one of those little spacer things. I'm very technical. Owner operator. That's a footer. So we have all these different areas now. We've got it all put together in a sense. What about logos and things like that? Well, we do have an area up here where we can insert a logo. Now notice in a template, it gives you all the information. Insert logo 180 by 90. Now we're going to talk more about images later, but we're talking about a PNG possibly, a GIF, a JPG. You wouldn't use PSDs or TIFFs or things like that on a web page. So you've got the images. I've got the numbers. I went into Photoshop. I created an image. I made it 180 by 90, which happens to be this one over here. And if you want to, all you have to do is drag it over. Now, this is also a placeholder. So if I click, go ahead and press delete, I get rid of that. So we're creating a page. Now, if you come down here, you may not see this. I have my properties panel open. If you don't see properties, you can go up to the word window on the pull down menu and go down to properties right here to turn it on. It may not appear at the very bottom. If it doesn't, I like it down there. I just drag it down there. One of the things I want to talk about is the title. This has changed since the last version of Dreamweaver. The title area used to be at the very top, very easy to get to. But they try to simplify things, and now it's down here. Untitled document. If you go into Google and search, and you type in untitled document, you will get, and I'm not exaggerating, about 40 million different hits for people who have been in Dreamweaver or other programs, but they've never bothered to put the title in. I'm going to put in Andy's About page. Now let's stop for a second and talk about SEO, search engine optimization. Although this class may not specifically be about that, in the long run it really is. There's an expression, build it and they will come. Doesn't work for us, okay? You build a site, nobody knows it's there, nobody's going to come. Two ways they're going to get to you. Number one, they know you, or they know your actual web address and they type it in and bingo, they gotcha. Number two, they search for you. So your index page especially should be written in a way that has keywords in areas even like this, that if they type them in, they're going to find you. For example, if you type in Andy Anderson in, say, for example, any search engine, you're going to get a lot of Andy Andersons. Unfortunately, my name is pretty common. But if you type in Andy Anderson O'Reilly Media or Andy Anderson Photoshop or something like that, you're going to get me over and over again. Ours is a game that we play for search engine optimization. What we are doing here is everything we can in a subtle way where it still looks readable and looks nice, but those words are being picked up by the search engines and cataloging your site. If you want people to find you, one of the most obvious things to do, especially on the index page, is write it and put it together in a way that lends itself to search engines. Talk a little bit more about that later. Now, I like what we've done, let's just say. Let's go ahead and go up to the word file in the pull-down menu and click save, or at least I will. So we've actually saved the page. I can go ahead and close it now if we want to, and we can move on.